gummy bear.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from GiantBomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about a newly independent gaming media brand and Doom the Dark Ages reviews. It's going to be a good one because we have Mike Minotti on the show, which is brought to you by Kind of Funny, but we'll take a break to talk about that later. First, though, Mike, how are you doing?
A lot's happening. A lot's been happening.
Do you feel caught up?
No.
No, me neither. And I've been there the whole time.
This is the first time I talked to you since you asked me if I wanted to own part of Giant Bomb.
And that was the first time I talked to you in more than a week. So, yeah, it's a lot has happened. GB, Giant Bomb, is independent now. Thank you to everybody who's gone to giantbomb.com/join to sign up and get us back on the track of making this a community and member-supported website, which is going to be our focus. Yeah, so much has happened. Thank you. Yeah, again, thank you to everybody who has already rushed out. If you're just seeing this now, though, please feel free. We're going to have memberships starting at $9.99. There's a lot of moving parts. We also hear people who want to support for more. We're working to figure all that stuff out. We really did just get handed the keys on Saturday, basically. And it's been us figuring things out, but while also many of us traveling home on Sunday and getting other things taken care of. So it's heads down today to get everything sorted out. There's a million things to do. And then we're also going to try to get Summer Game Fest up and running. Mike, it's overwhelming, but I mean, I don't know. I have this energy where I'm just ready to go because Giant Bomb, it lives, it's independent, and it's ours. So let's make it cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm incredibly excited. There's just so much that I want to do. I almost had to restrain myself a bit, but we're already talking about things. There's things that people want to see back. I'll just say this right now, Jeff. People miss quick looks. I think we should do those again.
I think we should do some quick looks this week. Yeah, we're already planning to, everybody. We'll get to work on those. We're gonna, I want to force Dan to do a demo derby, which he keeps talking about doing. I think we're gonna try to get that next week. This week we're gonna be busy talking to a lot of friends as we promote what we're doing here. So look out for, our guest appearances out there in the wild. But we'll still have plenty happening this week, but we're just going to keep rolling. Plenty of stuff happening next week as well. And we'll try some new stuff. But right now it's like there's a lot of things that we've kept on, in the vault or on the sideline that let's get those off the bench and get back to work. So
right. I have a bike club game that I have all my stuff over there. So we got to do that. There's still just the Bombcast. There's all this stuff. There are some, some transitions and growing pains. I think, people might notice that we're not on the giantbomb.com/chat site right now.
Yes. So that's the one thing that continues to be this sort of Damocles a little bit is the future of the .com. Actually, we are going to we're going to do everything we can to figure it out. But there is a potential where we are unable to extract that from the parts that are still under fandom, which they've promised to do everything they can to help us in that. But the reality is a lot of the guts that made Giant Bomb work became the guts that made everything else work. There are some hurdles there. We own all of the assets. We own all the stuff that these things belong to us. It's just going to be tough to make that technology work. So with that in mind, we have made the decision in this moment to be like, in the case that we are unable to keep giantbomb.com as a website as it works right now going, we're just going to jump into YouTube chat, Twitch chat. We'll be there. Honestly, if people watch our Game Mess stuff, Mike, it'll look familiar in terms of super chats and things like that as well, where you can really get our attention and support us at the same time. So we're really going to try to make this work, but there are going to be some initial headaches that are really just frustrations that there's not much we can do about.
Yeah, exactly. We have lost the safety net a bit in terms of, the engineering team and other people who could help with that sort of stuff. It's us five right now, which is exciting. Yep. It's I don't want to say it's scary, but it's the buck stops with us. For a long time, Jeff, I kind of had this shield of I'm just a contributor. Ha ha ha. Well, now I'm a part owner. So
now you're in all the meetings now. So yeah.
Oh, I have my first Giant Bomb meeting ever after this. That is so exciting. I can't wait.
I guess just to, like, before we, after we said all that, people probably did perk up a little bit if they were just kind of listening like normal. Yeah. So if you want to support us, again, giantbomb.com/join is probably the best thing to do right now. Understand, we hear you. It's very kind people talking about wanting to give extra to really show their love and support. We will find a solution for you, because money will really make this all make sense. So yeah, we really appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. All right. We should explain what this show is before we get into everything. Most weekdays, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Giant Bomb sold the site to staffed by fandom. Really, once again, I'll give the basics here in case you are still kind of getting whiplash. Me and Bacalar purchased the site from fandom as part of like a little bit of our exit from that company. We worked it out. They worked it out. This was the idea of, hey, this is what's best for the fans, and me, Jeff Bacalar, and fandom all agreed on that. It made it very easy in the end, despite all the complex efforts to move an asset like this to other people. Everyone was motivated because this really did feel like the best possible outcome, and the motivations were there. As far as what the site looks like going forward, Bacalar and I immediately plan to build a company that will then split ownership amongst all five of us. We are all co-equal owners. This is an employee-owned effort now. And so the skin's in the game. And I've been like thinking, like, we're going to go into this first meeting, Mike. I'm like, I think our just marching order should be, let's just care a lot about the stuff we make. And then I think people will care at home, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's not difficult to do that because the stuff is fun. The audience is great. They have shown up like crazy recently, even before this. I mean, all this could honestly not have happened without the viewers sort of going out there and making it known how much that they do care about Giant Bomb and how much, frankly, they care about us, which has been incredibly humbling. It's been
Yes.
incredibly emotional. I
Overwhelming.
cannot cannot say enough of just how much I appreciate the songs. Jeff, you say all the time, the best audience in gaming. Sometimes it's like, yeah, we like to say things, right? But boy, oh boy, just talk about just changing our lives in incredible ways. And you too, Jeff. When this was all going down, when things seemed dark, I thought, like, I'm gonna take care of my buddy Jeff. Don't worry. And once again, somehow you turned it into a way to do something incredible for me. So
Ah,
the fact that you were still thinking about me like that, when I would have been probably more than happy to just continue being a contributor. The fact that you all brought me in like this means the world to me. So, yeah, gosh, I love all of you. I love the audience. I love Giant Bomb. I am just ready to go.
yeah, thanks, man. It's the team, right? I'm ready to do stuff with all of us here. We can just really make some cool stuff. So we're, like I said many times now, we are gonna get to work. Really looking forward to it. And I just wouldn't want to do it with anyone else. And that means this team, but like you said, it also means this audience that has just shown up. I think we were saying the other day, like you might hear us complain about the Reddit, and then I mean this. I wouldn't trade even that Reddit for anyone else's Reddit. So when we're talking about that, the awesome people that show up and just show support in any which way they can. Yeah, it's made it all totally worth it and overwhelming. I have had it's hard for me to go in there even because it's like a lot of nice things. Even it's not like, oh, people are saying mean things. Now it's like there's so many nice things that it really like makes me feel like, oh God, there's so much responsibility to do the best that we can. But Steph's been kind of going through there and being like this buffer for me because she's very interested now, and she just kind of reads out like the most helpful stuff, and that's been really great to
Right.
just hear everyone's ideas and hear what people want to see.
Yeah, people are going to be free to criticize us. It's something that you
Oh yeah,
said way back when, Jeff, when like our podcast first started getting actual traction. It's like we criticize people all the time. So
it's
people
our
want to
job.
criticize us. If you don't like something that we're doing, let us know. I'm still going to be in the weeds in the Reddit, especially, right? Kind of keeping a pulse on things in there and on other social platforms to see what's going on. So yeah, all of that is fair game as well. If you have displeasures, you may express them.
All right, we'll have a lot more to talk about this. We're going to be doing the Bombcast tomorrow, and there'll be, Blight Club will be back on Wednesday, right, Mike?
Yeah, I guess so. Apparently, I'm going to look really cool. Apparently,
Gonna
I'm
look
going to
so
look
cool.
super cool. I have no idea what that means, but yeah, I'm going to look so freaking cool. I won't believe it.
Mike, you're gonna
Steph
look
was
so
asking him.
cool. You're so freaking cool.
Steph was asking about it, and I told her what you're playing, and she went to go look at it. And without any prompting from me, she said, "Mike is going to look so cool."
I
So.
cannot say this enough. I've never been more prepared to look uncool in my life.
All right, let's get into the rest of the news here. Doom: The Dark Ages review roundup. Uh, 86 on OpenCritic. I definitely did this morning and was like, "Oh, that's nice. I don't have to pretend like I'm or I don't have to like ignore Metacritic, which was formerly owned by the company I worked at. I like OpenCritic better, so I've been using OpenCritic anyhow. But now I can just use it and feel good about it. 86 on OpenCritic. Christian Donlon at Eurogamer gave it 4 stars. Here's a more grounded Doom, but one that's as brisk and playful as ever. Morgan Park at PC Gamer gave it an 80 out of 100 and said Doom: The Dark Ages is indulgent, deliciously violent, but surprisingly safe. And Jade King at The Gamer gave it 3.5 stars and said, Doom: The Dark Ages is the weakest entry in a fantastic trilogy of games. And despite how I feel about its additions to combat and exploration, I'd rather an experience that took risks and sought to reinvent what it means to play a Doom game rather than build upon the familiar. That's really just got to be kind of where Doom is at in this moment, where they did reinvent it once again in a way by kind of going back to what Doom was and making that make sense in a modern way with Doom 2016. And now the fact that this has been a trilogy. By the time you get to the third game, the familiarity will overwhelm everything else, right?
Right. I think that's why they did some things here that stand out as
Right.
being different with just the kind of medieval tone or aesthetic of everything. The stand your ground, especially when Doom Eternal was very run around, jump around, swing off of stuff, jump off of walls, right? So I think that's smart to differentiate it like that. But yeah, this game sounds great. I'm very excited. And I'm also maybe getting the sense, okay, that's probably going to be it for this version of Doom for a bit. I kind of hope maybe now they go and look at Quake or something like that. Give Doom
Good
a
idea.
chance to breathe again. But very excited for this. These are very good scores. Again, trilogies are hard these days. Jeff, people kind of get tired of them. That's why even when God of War had its reboot, they did too. Like we're not gonna do a third one. We don't think people are gonna really be that excited about it anymore. But they've done something really impressive here, especially in an era where it takes a really long time to make these games. They took these 3 games out in about 9 years. That's pretty impressive for how difficult stuff is. And these games always look absolutely gorgeous and are a ton of fun to play.
Yeah, I do like. It feels like we always like riz up or glaze up Capcom for figuring out RE engine and being able to make games at a relatively fast pace and that they're high quality and they totally understand their technology. Of course, like id Software has been similar with id Tech and kind of making that make sense and being able to, and it's a really scalable engine as well, so they can stick with it for a long time and be okay with it running on a variety of hardware. And they're the masters of it, and so being able to like make a game like pretty quickly relative to everything else on the market, that has been something that is worth kind of following through with the trilogy. But I think you're right, where at a certain point the underlying idea of what Doom is right now is going to need a refresh. They know it's going to need a full refresh after this. And the fact that they did throw in some cool little things to make it feel different and distinct is probably going to be enough for me personally. So I'm really excited to get in there. 86 is a really good score. So do you remember what we did when we were doing our guessing game? Who's
Trying to
closer?
think.
I know I
Because
can't
we always
remember.
because Doom Eternal got an 89, which was very
Right.
high, which is funny because like now you hear a good amount of people be like, I don't like this about Doom Eternal or that
Yeah.
about Doom Eternal, right? 86 is actually what the original Doom got to, which is it seems like that one is probably held in an even higher regard
God, I love that
right
game.
now.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So I mean, all those games getting above 85 is just insane for a trilogy these days. In fact, even getting a trilogy these days. Who makes a trilogy of AAA video games anymore? God,
No one. Yeah, and then like
no
God,
one.
it's like we're not even really all that far removed from like Mass Effect, right? Where it's like, hey, we're gonna do a Mass Effect trilogy, and it's all gonna happen on these platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, the Xbox 360 era was like the last time you can make a AAA trilogy in one console generation. We had a bunch of them, right? We had,
Yep.
Yeah, we had Uncharted, you had Gears of War, you had Lost Planet even, stuff like that, with all sorts of them. Now it's like, you'll get maybe 1 game every 2 generations now. How about
Right.
that?
Right. And it's like it did make sense because the first game was always going to be sort of figuring things out, really getting that foundation. And then the sequel could be better and would always sell better. And back then, like the third one could still also be better and sell better, but not always. But it was more frequent than now. These days, it's like I think they still have that same desire to like save money by saying, okay, we'll make this first game and that's going to be expensive and it'll be pretty good, but it's not going to be great. And then we'll follow it up with a sequel that we could save some money on it because we understand how to make it now. And then that will be the one that does even better. And then we can make even more money with the third one. And it's like now, these days, by the time you get to the third one, people are going to be actually kind of sick of it because it's been so
Well,
long and there's so many other games out there. It's tough.
even like, gosh, even back then, those I was thinking about those Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era trilogies. The third one was never people's favorite usually.
Usually
They usually
not.
got
Usually not.
criticized more. Uncharted 3,
Although they
Mass
would
Effect
sell very
3,
well still. Yeah.
Lost Planet 3. They would still sell very well. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. All right. Well, I haven't touched Doom the Dark Ages. I think I got code like right as I was getting ready to leave for PAX.
Oh
So
crap, did I get code? Gosh,
yeah,
my emails,
I
duh.
know, I know. I have barely honestly, I don't have my old email, so we'll have to get that figured out. But once I get a chance to sit down tonight, maybe I'll play some Doom and talk about it on the podcast tomorrow. All right, I'm glad you're on this episode, Mike, because I know this is a studio that you've followed closely. I want to talk about this one with you. Ori studio head says review bombing might force studio closure. Then he takes it all back. This is from John Walker at Kotaku. How big of an effect can review bombing have on a game? According to Moon Studios, the people behind Ori and the Blind Forest, the consequences could be so serious that it could lead to the closure of the studio. At least that's what studio head Thomas Mahler said before he said the exact opposite. Discussing the release of the studio's most recent game, No Rest for the Wicked, on a Discord, as spotted by someone on NeoGAF, Mahler said, "It's entirely possible we won't be around in a couple of months to do anything more, or to do anything anymore, simply because we got review bombed." He added that this leads to people not buying the game. It's quite an extraordinary claim in any situation, but even more so in the case of No Rest for the Wicked, which hasn't been review bombed, question mark, according to this. This is John Walker writing this, but I hadn't heard about this either, so I do wonder what he's talking about. The game is currently sitting at mostly positive on Steam with an extraordinary total number of 43,000 reviews, with almost, 75% are positive right now. It's only as low as it is, and it's not low because of a recent update, The Breach, that went down badly with players who let their feelings be known, but as is clear from the store page, not in a way that is visible to the average consumer. And it was reviewed negatively because, by all reports, it was a pretty bad update. Earlier this month, Mahler described the update's release as one of the worst days of my life as the studio rushed to send out hot fixes. Oh, and on top of all that, he was making it up in the wake of the comments being picked up by the media this weekend. Mahler took to Twitter to explain that it's the fault of the press for interpreting what he was saying when he said the studio won't be around in a couple of months, as meaning him actually meaning that the studio wouldn't be around in a couple of months. He wrote that. Now he's taking that back, I guess. Mahler added, "I've been hated on Twitter by a few crazies for years now, and I also saw the calls for review bombing because, according to those folks, I'm a Nazi," in order to prove just how unfair his claim was. Mike, Thomas Mahler's just, I don't know, said some weird stuff in the past. I don't think it's even that out of pocket to make that claim. Like, I think a lot of people would tend to agree. I'm not calling him a Nazi. I don't know his politics. I haven't really heard them in the past. I just think the way he talks about this sort of thing makes him seem a little strange. And I think he's perceiving that as looping back into him as a review bombing. I don't know.
He is a little strange. He is pretty online. I think the first taste people got of this was way back when Ori and the Will of the Wisp was coming out, and people just noticed that it had similarities to Hollow Knight, because it definitely did. And he sort of
Right.
kind of got upset about the suggestion of that, even though it was pretty clear that there were influences there. Over on GamesBeat, Dean did a story one time with former Moon Studios employees talking about the way Thomas Mahler is, and doesn't seem like doesn't sound like allegedly he's a nice person. It's not a crime, right? But there is a lot of turnover at that studio because of that. But yeah, he says things, and review bombing. again, it says mostly positive. Sounds like people just reacting negatively to a patch. I bet he saw that they were getting more negative reviews than usual, and he probably flew off the handle, is my guess there, and probably regretted it. And then the very popular tactic of people of a certain sort and blamed the media for all of the problems, actually.
Yeah, he went on to say, "No, we're not in immediate financial danger." And then inexplicably said, "But from time to time, I think I'm allowed to speak up about issues within our industry I personally find unbecoming." And I think that Walker's saying that that is inexplicable because no one seems to be saying he's not allowed to do that. No one seems to be saying that at all.
No, exactly. He paints himself as a bit of a victim a lot of the times. I don't know. It's all weird. My feelings personally are very difficult because I love
Same.
those
Yeah.
two Ori games a ton. And those are very kind games. They are very warm games. And everything he presents about himself is just not really in line with the things that I associate with Ori. I played No Rest for the Wicked a bit. I didn't really care for it myself. I don't know what kind of audience it is finding. It doesn't seem like a game that a ton of people are talking about, right? It's also in a weird position because it was one of those private division things, and most of that got like
Right.
canceled or dropped, but this one didn't. So it probably is in a precarious situation. The studio probably is in a precarious situation. At a time when Microsoft was buying everybody, remember that they did not
Right.
buy Moon Studios, and I'm not exactly sure why that happened. I have some guesses, but I won't go into it here. But yeah, I think there's something telling about that.
Yep. I think that's fair. And No Rest for the Wicked is definitely something I've been interested in, but it's not something I've really actually tried. Is that it's the multiplayer like Hades kind of inspired
No,
thing?
this
No?
one is it's Hades, but even it's a lot more like a Dark Souls, basically.
Right. Oh, that's right. Okay. Yes. Okay. I remember looking at it being like, that does look interesting, but I've not really tried it yet. So, and one of the reasons I haven't is, yeah, it just, I don't know. I think about this guy a little bit and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not like I'm out there telling people they shouldn't be trying it. It just, when I have so many options and you give me one reason to be like, that doesn't make me feel thrilled to play your game, then sometimes I'm just not going to play it. All right.
Vibes are off.
Yeah, exactly. Sega announced its latest Virtua Fighter is coming to Switch 2, PS5, and Xbox from Andy Robson at VGC. Sega has announced that Virtua Fighter 5 Revo is coming to consoles, including Nintendo Switch 2, with additional content, and revealed a new fighter for the next installment. Revealed during a live stream event on Sunday, RGG Studios showed the first footage of classic fighter Wolf Hawkfield, who will be appearing in the next Virtua Fighter game, which was announced first in December. Meanwhile, Virtua Fighter 5 Revo, the remaster first released for PC in January, is coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch 2 with cross-play support, rollback netcode, and new content. Yeah, I mean, we knew this would happen. Glad to see it. And really, I think a lot of people are just excited to be like, oh yeah, Switch 2. So many games now getting announced and then immediately getting a Switch 2 version. That's neat to see. I played some of this when it hit PC. I really enjoyed it. I love Virtua Fighter.
Yeah, Virtua Fighter 5 was just a very good version of that game. There's something about the whole idea of like, yeah, you have two attack buttons, but there's lots of different combinations and way to go about those. So there's an incredible amount of depth. There's a giant roster in there, all sorts of fun costumes and whatnot. So yeah, Virtua Fighter 5 is great. And I love having the Switch or Switch 2 version of these games when they run well. Because yeah, maybe that's not where I want to do online competitive. That's a great way to just sort of mess around with characters or play against friends locally, training, that kind of thing. Yeah, Wolf looks great, by the way, in for the new Virtua Fighter. So I am very excited to get even more news about that.
Yep, same, exactly. Glad RGG's been able to really just grow and get to a point where they can fully take on Virtua Fighter for the long term, it seems like. So that's awesome.
Yeah, especially
All
right now
right.
because
Yeah, go ahead.
people are Tekken 3 or Tekken 8 is in a weird place
Weird
still
place.
where
Yep. Yep.
yep, a lot of people aren't really happy with the way the game's playing. Apparently it's just very offensive, not enough defensive options. I think even like they announced the new DLC character, right? New season pass character, and it's basically has most people going like, him? Really? And I don't know enough about Tekken personally, but people seem like there seems to be a disconnect between what the Tekken team is doing and what the fans want over there. So it might create an opening for Virtua Fighter here. There already was an opening. People were going to be excited, but I think a lot of people who are maybe, thought that Tekken would be their game for 2 or 3 years, they might be ready to jump ship sooner.
Yeah, and then the fighting game scene clearly in a overall really good place, but I think there's like some pockets of people are like, yeah, they are looking for the other thing. Arc System Works, their next game might be Switch exclusive, says some rumors. This one I didn't really include in the rundown because I wasn't sure like where people were tracing this to. But like I could see that happening. I guess the rumor is maybe a Fire Emblem fighting game. Would that be something you'd be interested in? I think that sounds pretty cool.
That
Although
sounds
isn't that just called
amazing.
Smash Brothers?
Yeah, got him.
You can't. You just put me back in Nintendo jail. I'm used to it. It's all right.
That's funny. That's a good one, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.
Ooh,
Appreciate it.
I would freaking love a Fire Emblem fighting game. That would actually be amazing because because that one game they made based off of Grand Blue, the Grand Blue game, very similar. Lots of people with swords and whatnot and weapons in that game. So you just take that style, you throw in some Fire Emblem characters, and you do that gorgeous art style that they've had since that
Yes.
Dragon Ball Fighters game. That would be incredible. I would be all about that.
Was that? Did they do the Dragon Ball Fighters game? Was that them?
Yeah, that's them.
Okay.
That's art.
All
They
right.
did
Awesome.
that. They have that one Guilty Gear Strive is in that art
That's right.
style,
Yeah,
and
they
then
did do
the
it. They did do that.
Grand
Yeah. All
Blue
right.
Fantasy Versus is in that art style also.
All right. Yeah, very cool. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, plenty more to talk about right after this. This episode of Giant Bomb is brought to you by Kind of Funny. When we said we were going independent, Kind of Funny was the first group in our inbox because they believe in and want to support independent media, because that's what they are. For more than a decade, Kind of Funny's been making YouTube videos and podcasts about video game reviews, previews, and news, but they also review and rank Marvel movies, Alien vs. Predator movies, and just about every other film franchise you can think of. Kind of Funny is an independent, 11-person talk show network that's live Monday through Friday, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time. The day starts with Kind of Funny Games Daily, leading into the Kind of Funny Games Cast, usually giving you a rotating podcast, like their weekly The Last of Us and/or spoiler cast. And then later, they stream a game. If you like Giant Bomb, chances are there's a Kind of Funny show that you'll like as well. Check out their full slate of programming on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames, and podcast services around the globe. Then subscribe on whatever platform works best for you. Just like Giant Bomb, Kind of Funny only exists because of support from their audience, so give them a chance whether it's your first listen or your first time in 10 years. All right, we are back. Jeff Grubb, Mike Minotti from GiantBomb.com. This is Game Mess Mornings. Let's get back into the headlines with, let's see here. Nintendo says AI images were not used in Mario Kart World. Did you see this, hubbub? I didn't notice until I saw the headlines about it.
First, I'm going to derail things, and I know that you just read an ad about them, so they already got what they paid for. But boy, do I appreciate Kind of Funny. They have been super helpful and nice. Just the first. It could have been very easy for them to be like, wow, competition is going down. That's great for us. And instead, just immediately, putting themselves out there to help us out. It's incredible. There's been so much help from so many friends and people in this industry, other independent outlets, right? Between former game Giant Bomb people like the Nextlanders, the Gertzmans, Remap, and all of this stuff just has been incredible. Getting help for so many people, MinMax. I don't want to forget anybody because so many people have reached out to help us. So thank you to Kind of Funny. Thank you to everybody. We are really all in this together. And yeah, I just love being a part of this community.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about it last night when all this stuff was coming together about, the idea that we're all competition is just, it's outdated. Like we really are all in it together. And there's like very like fundamental, basic, like economic reasons why that's the case. The more people that are interested in like people who talk about games, the better for everybody. People's tastes and desires change on a whim. So if someone is like phasing out a giant bomb for some reason, if they can be caught by like kind of funny for a while, that's actually still good for us because they could phase back towards us at later, or they find more time and they can handle listening to both. It is keeping people in this space and feeling good is a challenge. That's the actual problem that we face. And so the more of us, the better. And then it just comes down to the reality of corporations have like in general have stripped us in so many ways of like our ability to like keep these things going, and it's kind of really is up to us if we want to like stand here and keep this thing going. We just got to work together, and that includes the community, but it also means like people who are trying to do this same thing, us helping each other out. So I mean that's just going to be one of the guiding north stars here at Giant Bomb going forward is we want to be a part of that community that's making cool stuff.
Yeah,
All
about
right.
AI and
Yes.
Mario Kart. I tell you what. Like I'm getting ready to see some of this stuff in games more, Jeff. But boy, Nintendo would be one of the last people I would expect or want to see it from, right?
Yeah, I didn't even like include the images here for like Jan to throw up on the screen because it's not even really worth going up over that much. But like there was one where like the people were pointing to a car and they're like, this doesn't look like a real car. This must be like what AI thinks a car looks like, and they just put it into Mario Kart. And it's like, no, that's the kind of the design of the cars from Mario Kart games. Like when you have like real cars, what is the freeway one where the cars are coming at you, the vehicles? It just looked like
Yeah.
one of those. So it's I think it's people sort of being spooked. There's definitely times where I'm getting to the point where occasionally AI does trick me, but I don't want that to lead to a situation where now I think everything is AI. It's this tough thing to balance out. But I agree with people who have that initial like knee jerk reaction to like once you know something is AI, it puts that makes your tummy feel a little bit like, oh, I'm less engaged with this product now because I know other human beings didn't work on it as much as I thought they did. I understand that.
Right. And we can all be guilty, kind of like getting too wrapped up in it and like looking for it, right?
Right.
But I get it. It's like you see it, it does ruin things. I mean, it's not AI, but when Rogue One, right? Let's talk about Star Wars.
Yeah.
I was maybe enjoying that movie okay. Then as soon as I saw CG Tarkin, I just like couldn't anymore. I just could not anymore with the movie. So I understand people having a similar thing when it comes to seeing something that's obviously AI generated in a video game.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 could reach 8 to 10 million copies sold. This is from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. As word spreads of Sandfall Interactive's hit RPG Claire Obscure Expedition 33, the sales figures for the game have been reaching new milestones, despite the game being available as part of an Xbox Game Pass subscription. Recently, the developers announced they had already sold 2 million copies. Yeah, I mean, obviously the value of this game is in how amazing it plays. It's so many people's already their game of the year. I've heard a lot of people say to me and to others that they are already thinking this is their favorite game they've ever played. And yet I always I'm interested in like, okay, well, what does the success financially look like so it can justify other people trying to like make their game that is the equivalent of Expedition 33. And this is the good side of like where gaming's at right now, where a game can sort of feel like it comes from nowhere. Obviously, no game comes from nowhere. Everything has a story of people like striving to get that stuff done. Maybe it does involve working at a big publisher, but whatever. This game does feel like it came out of nowhere and then found the success of like a dream scenario. And the fact that this can still happen is a good sign. I would agree with anyone who would immediately say, well, most games aren't going to experience this. Yes, but it would be worse if no game experienced this sort of thing. So, really good sign for a game that is deserving getting exactly what it deserves, right, Mike?
Yeah, it's still cool to see that these games can come out and just really over deliver. It happened with Baldur's Gate 3 a little bit ago. And obviously that was a franchise, quote unquote, right? Nobody really thought Baldur's Gate 3 in 2023 was going to be some giant hit. And then it was massive. So way better we thought. And this game potentially selling 10 million copies. Final Fantasy 15 sold 10 million copies. And they said that that was the best selling Final Fantasy game ever at that point, right? That's how absurd that would be. So yeah, that is fantastic news. I hope that it inspires more people, if not literally to just make more games like this, more turn-based RPGs. Just like say, hey, let's just go and make something really, really good, inspired by the kind of games that we like. And let's maybe not worry about some of this other BS that we constantly think we have to worry about, right?
Right.
Whatever that might be, whatever corporate mandates have to be, even if it's just a matter of inspiring more people to spin off from the Ubisofts and make these quote unquote smaller teams. And I know some people have arguments about how small the Clear Obscure team
Sure.
is,
We're
but
talking about.
right, and that's fine. But people know what we mean. It is not the Assassin's Creed Shadows team
No.
size, right? It is not that. But here's a team doing something that might sell better than that game. It might make more money than Assassin's Creed Shadows. Who knows?
Yeah, and I also get people being sensitive about like Final Fantasy. We don't have to talk about like what this means for Final Fantasy. Can't we just celebrate this game? But
Mm.
we know media is always in conversation with one another. We know that Final Fantasy has been inspired by other things repeatedly. Even when people yelled at me for saying that the 16 was going to be inspired by Game of Thrones, I'm like, guys, come on, just look
And
at
it
it.
was.
It very much was, and they've done that a million times. Final Fantasy 12, very inspired by the prequel era of Star Wars and other Star Wars.
Very
Um,
inspired by KOTOR, obviously, and things like
yes,
that. Yeah.
exactly. So like they take their inspiration from elsewhere. When a game takes inspiration from them, and then and the fairness to be fair to Final Fantasy, a lot of times when it was taking inspiration from other things, it was adding its own stuff on top, doing its own thing, and moving things forward. The fact that Clear Obscure Expedition 33, I think, has successfully done that same thing is going to be inspiring to people like that work on Final Fantasy. I think it's going to make it better, and I think that's a good thing. I'm okay just saying that.
And hey, you know what? As a giant Final Fantasy fan, I personally am very interested about what this means for Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah.
yeah,
I think it would be weird to think it means nothing for it. Yeah.
it shouldn't mean nothing. I definitely hope that they're looking at this and thinking of, maybe we should do something turn-based or, a bit more traditional again.
Yep. All right. Final Fantasy VII Remake director says he can't share why Sephiroth looks different in a new trading card, sparking Part 3 speculation. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. And I just threw this in here to see, Mike, if you have any theories yourself. Final Fantasy VII Remake creative director Tetsuya Nomura has said he can't share, and that's a quote, why Sephiroth looks different on an upcoming Magic the Gathering card. Magic the Gathering's next video game collaboration will focus on Final Fantasy, bringing heroes and villains from across the franchise to the popular trading card game. Some of these cards have been illustrated by Final Fantasy development veterans, including several Sephiroth cards illustrated by Nomura himself, who was an artist on the original version and creative director on the remake. This time around, I drew Sephiroth on both the front and the back sides of the car, Nomura said in a statement. I actually drew them so that they would join up in play if placed one on top of the other. So if you manage to get two of the same card and then line them up, you'll see how the original illustration looked. Alongside the Sephiroth Fabled Soldier card, a card depicting Safer Sephiroth, the final boss in the original Final Fantasy VII game, has also been revealed. There's also a reason for that the design for Safer Sephiroth is different from the original game, but I unfortunately can't share more about that, Nomura said. So, hey, people still don't necessarily know where this franchise is going to end up in terms of telling the story. I don't know. Any ideas, Mike? Is this exciting to you about your curiosity for what's going to happen in that final installment of the remake?
I like whatever who's running the Giant Bomb chat account just said on YouTube. He got Norded.
It was bound to happen.
Yeah, he
Nomura
got
does it to us
Norded.
all in the end. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking at this. If you told me that this was vastly different than what he looks like in Final Fantasy VII and his one-winged angel form or whatever, I would not have noticed. I am not personally reading too much into it. I'm very excited for Part 3 of the Final Fantasy Remake trilogy. I have liked both of those games a ton. I mean, I don't want to say spoilers, but at this point, in terms of the story stuff, I am expecting more multiverse bullshit that I don't particularly care for in terms of
Right.
the ending. Like, that's not really what I'm excited for or all that interested in. I really like the characters and the character moments in the combat system, in the world itself. That aspect of the trilogy has not really been my favorite. And if that's is what leads to, I don't know, Sephiroth having an extra pectoral muscle or whatever people are looking at, then whatever.
Oh, he's got a third peck and only one wing. It's crazy, this guy. Yeah, I think that it would be weird to assume things wouldn't change. Obviously, they are building to all kinds of different things happening that weren't in the original game. And so, yeah, when he says there's reasons that he's changed, but I can't talk about why. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's because you're going to do
Yeah,
different
and
stuff than you originally did.
apparently it's because he has both arms in his one-winged angel form, and I don't even remember if he didn't before, supposedly. So, yeah, it's a detail that's beyond even this Final Fantasy nerd, to be honest.
All right, well, we'll find out. And then Giant Bomb Chat is now asking our chat if they are pro or anti Chadley. Looks like people are mostly anti Chadley. I'm sorry to say.
I'm anti-Chadley. I'm sorry, I don't trust him.
I think Jan happens to like Chadley.
I think Jan is very pro-Chadley, and we are gonna have to just fight about this in the next board meeting.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come to a final solution here eventually, everybody, for that. All right. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4's upcoming remake is getting a major overhaul in one key area. And this is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 will allow players to extend Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4's 2-minute timer to an hour. It has been revealed. By default, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 will follow the same gameplay format as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 by giving players 2 minutes to complete as many goals as they can. While this was also a level mechanic in the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, this marks a change for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, which initially concerned some fans. Basically, what's happened, Mike, is a lot more people have gotten their hands on it. They've been able to see that really they just took a lot of the goals from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 where you would go up and talk to a person to initiate that mission. Now they've just sort of edited those to make them make sense within a 2-minute timer. But additionally, they've enabled people to up the timer to 10 minutes or to an hour. So if you did just want to skate around and try everything, within like do it at your own leisure, sort of like you did in the campaign, you're going to be able to do that. That seems to be the middle ground here. How do you feel about that?
I mean, personally, that's fine by me. I never liked Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 as much as 3. I never liked having to, even in like the thug games, which I do like, I never liked having to like go up to an NPC and talk to them to start a mission. I still understand though, if you're a fan of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 being skeptical, because it is very much the DNA of the game. That's the way it works. There is perhaps a charm of going up to some skateboarder with his bad voice acting and he tells you to do a kickflip, right? So it's different. It is different. I do want to see how I feel when I'm playing it. I bet I am going to be just fine. There's a part of me that's like, if you're going to remake the game, why didn't you just remake it the way it was? I don't know if we needed this change. I don't know if it is necessarily what's going to make everybody happy, but I bet ultimately it's not going to be too big of a deal.
Yeah, my position kind of has always been that I bet they made this change for a reason, and I bet those reasons are twofold. It probably is easier, and that means more affordable to kind of fit everything into the style that they established with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2. So if that is where people's skepticism and criticisms are coming from, I get it. But I also get it from the development side. And then the other, the second part of the twofold situation would be that I think this probably will make the game a little bit better. I think that they probably are going to have a chance to edit everything and make things feel more streamlined and more modern. And I think for a remake, that makes a lot of sense. Of course, if Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 was readily playable in its original form elsewhere, then I'd be like, well, you could play it there. That doesn't mean you can't criticize this game. I get that. Like you were saying, if people are really looking forward to having that experience again, I understand. But for me, I bet I'm going to enjoy this just fine as well. All right, and then because of that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater event that did happen, people were able to talk to Tony Hawk. That includes people. Well, let's see here. This comes from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot, who writes, if you're hoping to see more remasters of classic Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games, you're not alone. Tony Hawk himself wants that too, but he clarified in a new interview that it's not up to him. Asked by Screen Rant if there could one day be a remaster of Tony Hawk's Underground, 2003, Hawk said he has aspirations for this, but admitted it's not up to me generally. That being said, Hawk said he'll make it his mission to campaign all I can to make that happen. But ultimately, Hawk said Activision will get to make that call. I'm working with a much bigger company that's a lot smarter than me, he said. Hawk added that there has been no talk as of yet about a remaster of Underground, adding that the success of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 might dictate what happens with regards to the future of the series. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 ended up being the best-selling Tony Hawk game, a franchise that was regularly among the best-selling games of the year when it came out. Obviously, a lot more people playing games now. That's the big reason why that happens. But it was very successful. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, I hope, is just as successful, just as like sells just as well. But I could easily see it being like, it does around 80% of the number because a lot of people were satiated with 1+2. I don't know. Do you think that this game, kind of at 80% of the level of 1 and 2, has a chance to lead to a situation where we get plenty more of these going forward?
I don't know about plenty more, but gosh, I'd be shocked if we at least don't get the Thug, right? Thug 1. Thug 2, like, it could be a Thug 1 and Thug 2 thing. Thug 2 is a little weird because of all the Jackass stuff in it, right? All that branding associated with it. It's not quite as beloved as Thug 1, but Thug 1 people do love. It's a classic. Now that is one where you can't do the 2-minute timer thing. That has to be the whole open world story-based thing. That is very much an important part of that game with, Eric Sparrow and all that stuff. Best video game villain ever. 3+4, I think, is going to do well enough to justify Thug. Again, I don't know if it's going to do as well as 1+2 did, but it should do well enough that we at least get Thug 1.
Yeah, and as Epos Fox, Addy in chat points out, of course, Tony Hawk is going to say he wants Underground, and we'll campaign to make that happen because every time they make one of these games, they cut him a big check. So that's easy for him to say yes. And him saying, it's up to Activision. That's him rightly pointing out that he will not get to make that call. And all of the motivating factors that come when a game gets made will have to come from Activision because, of course, he wants it to be a reality. I do think for Thug that they should just at this point look at what Thug Pro does and be like, that's the direction to go for future remasters. If we do have to sort of rework the foundational system we're working with after Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 made so much sense for those games. Well, if we have to update all that, let's do that for Thug. But now let's put an emphasis on hanging out online with your friends, which is the direction Skate's going as well. I think that could really work for that game. Now, does that work well enough to make it make sense financially? No idea. I would hope so, though. Gaming's better when Tony Hawk games are getting released. It just is.
Right. I think ideally we do get like the Thug 1 and hopefully 2 remakes, and then maybe we do a new Tony Hawk game. We figure out what that looks like, and that can have. I'm almost wary of saying adding social aspects to it because you're right, it's a good idea. That was kind of the pitch with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, and that's not the reason that game is bad, but it's still, everything has that stank that's associated with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's going to do it for the headlines. If I asked a poll question with the last episode I did, I don't remember what it was.
What was the last episode? The show had a different name then.
Yeah, a different name. I'm trying to remember when it was. It was about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe more than that.
2 weeks ago.
Sheesh. All right. So, yeah, I don't remember what that poll question is. So instead, we'll ask a new one here in a second. But before we do that, Mike Minotti, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, all that good stuff?
Yes. See people asking, I am still at GamesBeat. So please continue to check out GamesBeat, which has also gone independent recently. So GamesBeat.com, getting back into swinging things there. Yeah, after this very long break. Sorry, but I have a little bit of theme park crud, everybody. You may have noticed. So apologies.
Good job getting through this episode, bud. I appreciate it. Yeah.
No, of course. I'm just happy to be on. I've been on this show in a hot moment here.
It's been a minute.
It's fun to be on here again. 90s Disney. I will be doing a trip report about this big Disney trip. We also went to that big universe again. My brother got to go. He'll be on the show as well. So we did the whole thing. I did that Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, right, Jeff? That you and everybody said you think I would like. You all said, "Oh, Mike, be brave. You'll like that."
I do. I feel like I remember being like, that spinning feels like it could be an issue. What was the issue? Give us the trip report, but just give us but give us the short version right now.
The speed and the spinning.
Mike,
you started talking yourself into it when you were like defending yourself, like before you'd done it, and I didn't want to discourage you. So you're right. I should have told you.
No, I don't blame anybody. I'm glad I did it once. But,
Mikey, can I share the picture?
Yes, please share the picture.
It's
too much for
my favorite thing. This picture is so good because it's really great because there's the kid behind you. Is that your nephew?
My nephew, yeah. So yeah, there you go. So that's me in the front, audio listeners, focusing intensely is how I would describe it. Next to me is my brother, who's just smiling and having a good time. Behind me is my 7-year-old nephew with his hands in the air, having a fantastic time. But next to him is my sister-in-law, who is also struggling. Who's also struggling. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe how fast that ride was. It was a lot. It was neat. I get why people like it. Too much for Mikey's.
As soon as we got done, me and Steph were like, we should do it again. And then we saw the picture of the kids and how they looked, and they were gripping to us the way you're gripping to that thing. I'm like, okay, well, they won't be able to do it again. Later, they said they did want to do it, but by then it was too late. So, any chance you ever do it again, Mike?
No.
All right, new poll question: Giant Bomb? Your options are yes and forever. We will get the results of that poll question on Game Mess Mornings when we return on Wednesday. A lot of new viewers. If you are tuning in, giantbomb.com/join. Game Mess Mornings happens Monday and then Wednesday through Friday. On Tuesdays, we have Giant Bombcast that we record live. You can tune in for that, watch that instead of this. And then we're going to have plenty of other cool shows happening throughout this week. If I could implore you to watch one thing, Blight Club on Wednesday. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be revealing Mike's new game, the new season of Blight Club, his new costume. It's gonna be. You have all the stuff already ready. It's right. It's all ready.
Sure,
to go?
I do. I got the game. I got a box and a bag of some sort with costume accessories in it. So yeah, I think I'm good to go.
And then we're gonna go to this meeting right now, figure out what's possible this week. We're gonna be very busy. I would love to do a UPF with like Among Us 3D or something like that.
Oh,
so
God.
let's see if we can make that happen. In the meantime, quick looks. We'll put those up on the site. Look out for those. They'll be up on YouTube and all that.
I'm gonna play Miss, so no one can stop me.
Oh, God, I feel like we could vote them to stop, but I don't know if we can actually. We'll have to see how that works. First, the late for the first meeting. It's about to start here in a couple minutes, actually, everybody. So we'll get to that. I know before we do leave, one last time, giantbomb.com/join. We're independent now. The future really does come down to, can we get enough support to make this make sense? We are going to run this as a business. It's not going to be just a crowdfunding campaign. We're going to try to get sponsorships and ads like you saw. People are interested in coming in and helping us out in a variety of ways. But we're still just we're going to be ourselves. It's going to be what you want. Although, like Mike said earlier, if you have criticisms, let me know. We're going to try to figure this out as we go along. It is going to be building the bomb in the air in a lot of ways. So, just give us
Arby's,
your feedback.
Get back to me. Arby's, I'm reaching out to you. There's an incredible sponsorship opportunity over here on giantbomb.com, Arby's.
You heard the man. We're determined this time. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that Arby's money. All right, Mike Minotti, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I got a stake in all of this now. We got to make sure things go smoothly over here. I got to make sure you don't say anything out of sorts or out of spirits or out of anything.
He's got to tend to his investments, everybody. Jan Choa, thank you for producing and on the ones and the twos in the background back there. Thanks to, Bacalar and Dan, they're doing work right now to make everything connect and work in the background. And in the meantime, thank you from me. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Yummy like a gummy bear.